process involved in the West Coast Road. They questioned it. It's a joke, the tendering process. And I have to be very careful what I say, because I know Mr. You-know-who is listening to every word, so he can sue me. That's all we get in this country. Threats of libel suits and slander when you talk about the government. So you must be very careful in this country. As a matter of fact, you know, if I were going to recommend the removal of this government from office, one of the first reasons would be so we can restore freedom of expression in this country. We keep on hearing how the Labour Party, we've never been as free to talk as we are now. That is the biggest lie, and I'm saying so now. Biggest lie. Because few people can talk in this country without the fear of at least a libel suit. A libel suit. And a lot of people don't want to go near a libel court, you know. Number one, because they believe the judges are manipulated by governments in office. They believe that. They believe it. It's their reality. So you ask them why they believe that. And you will notice too that politicians never sue anybody until they're in office. They don't sue when they're regular guys out there. It's when they're in office, almost as if, and I'm going to be very careful with my words again, almost as if they were guaranteed the results of court cases when they are in office. You will also observe that politicians who get hauled before the courts, or who are threatened with jail, or who are jailed, especially in the Caribbean, it happens only after they're out of office. When did you hear, although I heard it happened recently to one case in Trinidad, but that's not the norm. The norm is if you're going to put a politician before the courts, you better wait until he's out of office, because you ain't going nowhere. That's what happens when four heads of government can come together and pick judges for courts. That is when retired judges depend on government assignments. Retired judges who have grown accustomed to a particular standard of living. So instead of retiring and going home or getting involved in some kind of private practice and go and do land deeds, they sit there, bums, essentially bums, waiting for crumbs to fall off the tables of government. Retired judges. That's why I have no time for retired judges taking on cases involving governments, or retired judges being one-man inquirers into public matters and so on. These things are too suspicious, ridden with suspicion. So, like I say, if I was going to suggest one reason why I would like to see this government out of office, it has to do with those threats, always those threats to our freedom of expression. And what do I mean by that? Look what just happened there. I'm going back to this, you know, but I must get there. I could not believe Kenny Anthony, his first sort of press conference following this thing, following the by-election. And the first thing he said, you know, I want you to roll that for me in a second, Junior. You know, just roll that for me, Junior, please.
I'll tell you what I'm very concerned about. It is a continuous allegations of corruption against the Labour Party. I'm going to be very scrutinizing very closely the statements made in this by-election on this matter. Those things concern me very, very deeply, because I've always said, and I maintain, that people's character, their honesty and integrity should not be impugned. And those of us who find those statements unacceptable will know what to do. But where that is concerned, while we know that generally it's not an issue that looms very large, but nevertheless, I remain very deeply concerned, because throughout this campaign...
Junior, you must cut it when I say cut it, okay? Thank you, Junior. I wanted Junior to stop that thing where the finger was going there like that, you know. You want to run that again for me, Junior? No, it doesn't matter. That finger reminded me of another guy. I never had sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. It depends what you mean by is. You know, it depends what you mean by is. I mean, after a by-election, when so many allegations were hurled out of the mouth of the leader of the government, etc. Some of the worst things that came out of that platform came out of Kenny Anthony. Rufus Bousquet's letter, a letter where Rufus Bousquet is evidently accepting an offer by the Prime Minister to serve on a CARICOM, CSME panel. And out of the clear blue, with no introduction to this at all, we hear Rufus's integrity being impugned. I could have had him in my party, I could have had him, but the Labour Party doesn't want people of lousy integrity or whatever. So we could have had him. Of course, they're lawyers and they talk nicely so that you can't sue them so well. But the message is clear. The message is that the reason Rufus was not on a panel, or the reason Rufus was not embraced to bring him into the Labour Party, was because Kenny Anthony had problems with Rufus Bousquet's integrity. If anybody said that about Kenny Anthony, they would receive a libel suit.